option. Let's say solve as a homework. Solve, let's say g of a equal to 3, g of a equal to -3. So you have various options to solve it. So as you visualize using the two graph, you already know how to get the graph of g of a because I already got for you the two intercept. The moment you have the two intercept, then to draw a quadratic function should be straightforward. Great. Now another way of saying in the high school that let me try to bring it back. You see, in the I gave you at the beginning, calculate g of 1, g of -1. You see, in the high school, usually what you do is you do something like this. You say this is x, and then you say this is y. So you give x and y different values. If I remember, you can start by 0, -1, -2, -3. Then let's say 1, 2, 3, 4. You give several values, and then you try for x. That is your a. Y, it will be your g of a or g of x. Then you calculate for all these values that I've given you there. You calculate this, and then you try to look at how the graph. So then you can sketch every couples, and then it gives you an idea how the graph will look like. So that is another way of sketching the graph, right? Now, one other way of this is you call it finding the equation of a function. So let's say if I give it to you in terms of let's say a and b, and then if I ask you find the function f of a, that means that generally you have to solve and find for those values. However, in this class, usually generally we can perhaps you see for some of the functions they are a bit tricky in a sense. Let me try to come here. If let's say generally most of you know that these things like this is what you call is not a d, is like a if this is the x and then this is the y axis, so it's half a circle or quarter of a circle and so on and so forth. It could actually also be this way, or it could actually also be this way. So now if that's the unit circle, let's say here is 1, -1, -1, 1, the same here, -1 and 1, and so on and so forth. Generally, it comes from the function x squared plus y squared equal to 1. I think for those who haven't submitted their assignment, they will already be like, doing their hand like this, say, that's something close to what we have in the assignment. No, I'm not explaining what you have in the assignment, but I'm explaining the things that you're supposed to have an idea of in terms of a function. Because we are now in the chapter of function, I'm trying to create. Is this a function the way it is? Can someone tell me? Is it a function, yes or no? If I have x squared plus y squared equal to 1, is it a function, yes or no? We have seen the definition of functions last week, right? I'm trying to ask you, is this a function, yes or no? Guys, am I audible enough? It seems like, let me go and check. Maybe I'm not in the meeting. Hello, guys, are you able to hear me? Please
Yes.
put a thumb up. Okay, thank you. Thank you, fully fellow. Yes, if I'm audible enough, I'm asking, is this a function, yes or no?
I think so.
What do you mean you think so? Okay, how did I define a function last time? So let's take it in a practical form. Let me just try to recall what I said last time. I said we have a set of input x, which you call a domain, and a set of output y, which usually you guys call the range. And I say here you have, let's say a, b, x, small x, or maybe let me call it c and d. You see, on this side you have f of a, f of b, f of c. So if it happened that for one value you have for a and b, you have f of a and f of b is the same. Is that a function, yes or no? From what we have seen last week, we said this is a function. Now, if it happened that, let's say f of c goes there, and then f of d goes to there, and then f of d goes to also here. F of d has f of d, not f of b, has two different values. I say, is this a function, yes or no? The answer is no. You see, for one value d, you cannot have two different values, f of a and f of d, so it makes it not a function, right? Now let's look at the circle in that sense. If we're trying to look at that circle that is given x squared plus y squared equal to 1, this is how it looks like. So if I pick an x here, let's say x equal to negative half, right? For x equal to negative half, how many values goes to the circle? There are two different values for that value of x, right? So the one value is this y value here, and the next value is this y value here. One value is negative and another value is, I'm going to call it minus alpha, and this is, I'm going to call it plus alpha. You see, if you take that function that for 1x equal to negative half, you get two different values, a negative value and a positive value, then this is not a function, right? So the square is not a function. Now the question is that how do we make it a function? So if we take that square, let's say x squared plus y squared equal to 1, then you can write it as y squared equal to 1 minus x squared. Then by taking the square root on both sides, then the left hand side become plus or minus y, and the right hand side just become the square root of 1 minus x squared. This one we didn't simplify it. Then if we're trying to now simplify it further, we have